So
Still
I
the
guess
end.
it's just,
Wow, so beautiful.
I'm going to disable the waiting room. So before we start, I just want to welcome you guys on. This is so, so beautiful. Before, Donald Sawson has just joined us. Donald, you could turn your screen on if you want. We'd love to see you. Anyways, we spoke about the narrow bridge last night. We started talking about it. If you want to watch the part one, you can go on the YouTube channel, and the link is in the description. I don't think it is, but I know every YouTuber says that, so I'm trying to sound kind of legit. So the link is in the description below. So have fun with it. And number two, I was just watching. I was actually speaking to my great uncle Chaim Kramer and my cousin Svi Kramer a couple of weeks ago. This was, or 3 weeks ago, right before Shavuos, and I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to hang out with them, talk to them a little, and they said they would be in America for a couple of weeks. Turns out, it they were in America, obviously to spread Rav Nachman and Rav Nasson's Torah, but more importantly, Rav Nasson, it was his 200th anniversary of bringing Likutei Tfilos out to the world, right? So in 1821, Rav Nasson bought a printing press or got it somehow. I don't know if he bought it with his own money, and he started printing Likutei Tfilos. Turns out the printing press that he was using was illegal. I think there was only two in the country he was in. Um, Anyways, you could go to that YouTube video, which is on Breslov Research Institute, to get the full detail, the full story. So, anyways, the whole idea behind Rav Nasson's Likutei Tfilos is in Likutei Maran 79, Rav Nachman talks about how, or part of the Torah talks how we should turn the Torah that we are learning and that we are absorbing into tefillah, and basically throwing ourselves onto Hashem and saying, Tati, I learn about Shabbos, bring me Shabbos. I learned about the narrow bridge. I learned about how you're always there by my side, and I could be in the depths. I could be in the trenches, but show me what it's like to get out of them. Right. So that was the whole idea behind Likutei Tfilos. It's just touching on all the topics that we learn about in Rav Nachman, and basically crying out to Hashem and using those tefillos, and getting closer to Hashem. The whole idea, according to Rav Nachman, in that piece, I think it's in the same piece actually. He talks about how each of us has a part of Mashiach inside of us, and how one of the ways to bring Mashiach, if not the main way, is through prayer. And through prayer, we can connect all of ourselves together, which will ultimately bring Mashiach. So that was just a recap. I got fired up from the video before, and we're going to continue on the narrow bridge. Well, I feel bad for the YouTube subscribers who think they're getting the narrow bridge part two at the beginning of clicking on a video, but they're getting it 3 minutes in. So I'm going to write that in the little description below. There's so much to put in the description. It's crazy. Anyways, the narrow bridge part two. You may feel you have not ever even begun to enter the gates of holiness. You may feel you are so far away. You feel like you are so far. There's so much out there. There's so much that Hashem. He's infinite. You are infinite. You have no clue where to start. You may see yourself as still being coarsely materialistic and feel that your mind is confused, meaning you want to attach yourself to Hashem. You want to cling your heart to the Ribbon Shalom, but you're living in this world. In this world, there are distractions, right? There's materialism for a reason, which materialism can be the holiest of the holiest. It's just the way we use it and view it. But you could get sucked into it, and your mind could be confused, and you're like, what am I doing? Like, how can you balance out Avodas Hashem while also living in this world? No matter what you try to do to serve Hashem, it seems as if the evil forces will not allow you to succeed. It's like this force that's pulling you back. And I love this Torah that we went over. This is already a couple months ago, which is wild. The illusion of the spider web. How we have this spider web. Imagine a spider web covering the screen, and it's just holding you back, restricting you from moving forward, restricting you from opening up your heart and getting closer to Hashem, attaching yourself to the Rebbeinu Shalom, throwing yourself on the Rebbeinu Shalom, being bold with the Rebbeinu Shalom. It seems like the spider web doesn't want you to succeed. You may start thinking that God is paying no attention to whatever, as if he has no interest in your devotions. Because you feel like you're not moving forward in your avodas Hashem, and you have this spider web, this blockade that's constantly blocking you and restricting you from getting closer to Hashem and trying to serve Hashem in the way you feel like it's right. You could feel like how is this possible? How is this possible? How can the Rebbeinu Shalom expect me to come closer when it seems like I'm just standing in place or I'm regressing? And it feels like I'm not succeeding. Like, how is that possible? And you come to the conclusion that Rebbeinu Shalom is not listening to you, is not holding your arm, is not holding your hand and say, come with me. Or let me follow you in your life. Let me be involved in your life. We may not feel that all the time. You keep calling out to him, Rebbeinu Shalom. And we talked, like we spoke about before at the beginning, I learned about Shabbos, show me Shabbos. I learned about the soul of Hanukkah, show me what the soul of Hanukkah is really about. I'm wearing a Pete Cessna shirt. Show me what the Pete Cessna was all about. But it may seem, as you're pleading to Hashem, as you're throwing yourself on Hashem, that there is no answer, that there is no touch, there's no wrist grab, there's no arm on the shoulder, pleading with him to help you. Yet, you feel as far away as ever. In this situation, Chas v'Shalom, you may feel like you're the furthest away from Hashem. When feeling this way, it takes tremendous determination to overcome all this. The key is to ignore all the discouragement. The truth is that all this apparent rejection has no other purpose than to bring you closer. This is a good place to stop. But like we spoke about yesterday in part 1 of the narrow bridge, at the end of the day, when you feel like you're not succeeding, it comes down to how much fortitude you have, how much determination you have, how much vision you have and awareness. And if you continue to have that vision and awareness, we'll see that there is no such thing as rejection. And that the whole idea of being in that mud and of feeling the opposition and hardship is really to bring me closer. And it's really a sign that Hashem loves me. And that Hashem wants me to continue to throw myself onto him and to pray to him, to beg of him, to cry with him. Bezrat Hashem Chevra. It's a lot to take in. Bezrat Hashem, we should all have that vision, that awareness, that determination, that inner strength to always stand firm, to always know that you have a friend. And if your friends in this world are not available, chas v'shalom, you try WhatsApp calling them, the people in Israel, you try WhatsApp calling them in America or Canada or your family members, and no one seems to be calling. Just know they could always turn to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You could always just pick your head up and be like, I always have a friend. I always have someone who's listening. I always have someone who loves me. I always have someone that knows the totality of me. And I know someone that wants me to be the best version of myself and wants me to get there. So Bezrat Hashem, we should all have that feeling of having a best friend and knowing that there's a best friend. I don't know, there's so much to say. Questions, comments, I want to hear everyone. I'm just going to close my eyes. My heart's open.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll get a little vulnerable with you guys. So I think the point you just made is so powerful, Jack. You know, during my service, I went through a bit of a crisis, and it's not that I didn't have friends. I had a lot of awesome friends, and many of them were really there for me, more than I could ever have imagined. But there was a point, and I think it was more my fault that I sort of pushed myself away. I was in my own world. I had my own problems. And what really was, I'm not one really I bottle up my feelings a lot. I don't like to I don't really talk to people a lot about them. But I realized when I davened, I felt like that was the faith to have, that just say Hashem, I know you're listening to me. Like, that takes a lot of courage, because God doesn't answer you. He doesn't say, oh, hey, I'm listening. You believe that he's listening. And therefore, for me at least, I felt that I felt comfortable saying, during Shema Kol, saying, hey, God, this is bothering me. Or maybe sometimes it's a little more aggressive, or sometimes a little more conservative. But I felt comfortable. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that faith to have takes a lot of courage. And I, a little pride in myself for that. But I do think it's a good lesson to always remember that even when things are tough, whether it doesn't be as as extreme as my case was, but I think in any situation, to feel that you can during tefillah, you can just stop and have a dialogue. I think Rav Soloveitch is very correct on this. That prayer is a dialogue. There is some part of it that is educational for yourself, but I think there's something that you really are talking to God, and be able to sort of express yourself honestly in front of Hashem, I think is really a humbling feeling, and fortunate for us.
John, thank you so much for showing us what real really means and opening up your heart. Thank you so much, Mamash. And before Samson goes, because no one's really talking right now, like what we spoke about before all the chaver came on, all 109 chaver came on, we spoke about Rav Nasson and how he really internalized the Torah from Rabbeinu, that whatever Torah we learn, whatever Torah that we are absorbing, we have to use and turn it into our own words and our own tefillah. And I think the time is now with what John just said. It's one thing to just learn it out of the Sefer. It's one thing to just see a real life example right in front of our eyes, in front of the screen. So Bezrat Hashem, guys. Samson, please unmute yourself.
John, our Rebbe says, or Davido says in his Sefer, everything you just said, and it's really a touching moment. We get to feel the presence of Hashem Kiviyachol talking back to us. I know it's hard, we don't hear it, but can't really see it, but we get those fine moments in our lives where we're like, wow, I feel like I'm in the presence of Hashem. And sometimes it's not for everyone, it's every tefillah. But I hope that we all get to merit at least one tefillah like that. For the Alter Rebbe says that really, even if the goal of a yid is obviously to have a perfect tefillah, feeling that he's in Hashem's presence at all times, but in truth, we have to realize that every single one of our tefillot is a combination. So if you had a good Mizmor L'Dava here, and a good Baruch Shamar there, and a good Ashrei here, and then you had a good Barachos of Kriyat Shema here, and the Shema Yisrael, you had 3 years later, you had a good Shema Yisrael, and then 20 years later, you had one good Shema Ashrei out of all the rushing 3 minutes Shema Ashrei. You took actually 5 the next time. Wow. That's what he says. You add up all these tefillot, and you get one perfect tefillah, and even that's like, like that's bringing you into the highest presence of Hashem. That's actually not what I wanted to say, but in addition to what you're saying, I just wanted to give that anecdote. We need to know that we're coming together in tefillah all the time, as it says in we say in on Yom Kippur, Ki beiti beit tefillah yikarei lechol ha'amim, that my house is a house of prayer for all the nations of the world. That the ikar of our future as a people is through tefillah. And of course, as Rav Kook says in Olot Haraya, in hatefillah ba kitikuna, I forgot the end of the word, but the end of the saying is Hanashama tamim mitpalalat, that the soul is always davening. That's only the small anecdotes, but there's a niggin called Kol Bayar. Then the verses of this niggin are very deep, and I'll say the first one and the last one, which are the main ones that I wanted to say. The first one was Kol Bayar Anochi Shomea Av Labani Koreh. I hear a voice calling out to me in the forest. Father to his children, father calling out to his children. And this is, of course, an allusion to Hashem calling out to the Jewish people, as we perceive ourselves as being in the forest. And as we know, the forest is a place where we feel as though we're surrounded by so much, but really we're alone. Because we know it says in Masechet Shabbos Daf Daled, that a Carmelite is considered a Ya'ar, a forest is considered a Carmelite, because it's a place where people do not live or pass through. And therefore, it's a place where people are alone. So even in the forest, we perceive as if we're surrounded by so much. Really, in truth, we're deeply alone. And that's why the Father is calling out to the Son. And the last verse, so the niggin has 4 verses. And I know Jack is going to put the link in the description for the niggin. So if you want to, if you don't want to,
you gotta send me it. I got you.
If you don't want to put it in the link description, you can ask me for it, and I'll send it to whoever wants. You could reach me at 058-792-0456.
Dude, I'm putting it I'm putting it in the description.
Okay. In addition, the last verse of the niggin goes, Avinu, ech nelech hashomer omed b'shar hamelech. Father, how can we come to you? How can we return to you? There's a guard standing at the gate of the king. And this is to say, and actually there was at one point in time a 5th verse, but the Lubavitcher Rebbe said this 5th verse is not acceptable, and we need to leave the complaint on Hashem and not have Hashem returning back to us saying whatever it is. I can give a further explanation if you want. Again, I stated my number already. You can ask me for it. For everyone who's watching, I don't know. But Baruch Hashem, we should know that we're constantly having to rely on Hashem only through tefillah, only through calling out. Ki kol bayar, everyone's listening, everyone's hearing it. We're all hearing it at some point. The voice is calling out from the forest. As if we think we're alone, we feel so like excommunicated in so many different senses of the word. Whether it be, even if we feel like we're surrounded by people all the time, we know that there's a voice calling out to us, and we need to tell that voice, Hashomer omed b'shar hamelech. There's a person standing at the gate. Take me there. Like, what are you doing? So we need to give the teruna on Hashem. We need to complain. It's good somehow, but we're not alone. And we have a friend, and he wants us to come home, and we want to come home too. We just need to figure out how to go over the shomer.
I'm drowning from both of you. Donnie, you have anything to add? Just seeing your name adds so much. So we could end it right here. I'm just giving you 3 seconds to unmute yourself, and if you don't, then Kol Tov. 1, 2, 3. Gewalt. Chavra. I really hope you're all able to internalize and actualize, apply this Torah to our everyday. And if we don't, then we could just continue to yearn in order to bring into the action sooner rather than later. And I wish you guys nothing but health, happiness, and success, whether you're an IDC government, going to work in the government one day, just continuing or allowing Moshe to build bridges and all the bridges in the world. Right, Moshe, we all know, iPhone 1, building bridges all over. He has all the coordinates now from last night. He was out in the street, out in the car. He was writing down all the different measurements. So we're good. We feel safe. And we feel like there's so much to the future. And Rav Danila, returning to the home, meaning LA, which is the Los Angeles Lakers' hometown. And we all know that Donnie is going to spend that money, the covered Shabbos, to go to that basketball game, even if he's in the top row, to watch the Lakers hopefully win. Hopefully win. So Bezrat Hashem, guys, even though we're all in different places on this earth, on this beautiful earth, Olam Haza, we feel so close. Just looking at the screens right now, I feel the energy. Bezrat Hashem, guys. Have a great night.